Welcome to All Lacrosse Live on a special Monday evening presentation. I want to thank the guys for pulling it out and doing Monday night for me, because if you haven't been following us or you've been underneath a rock or something, I literally just got in from Prague a couple of hours ago. I dropped my luggage down, said hello to the family, and came here. And here I am with you. So from the, it's been about a 24-hour day with the time change. So it's roughly 3 a.m. there. And we left it to go to the airport at 4 a.m. So it's been a long circle thing. Now, this airport thing, guys, I thought Pearson was nutty here in Toronto. To get out there, just to show you what the Gales had to go through, we got all there early, like hours early, as we were told to, and we had a 4.5-hour delay. Now I guess they got tired of telling us, so we started getting messages like, in 20 minutes we will tell you if there's another half-hour delay. That's right. That's what the heard. And then it would be every 10 minutes, there'd be a 10 more minute delay. That's right. You couldn't tell me an hour. You're going to tell it to me 6 times that there's a 10-minute delay. Well, finally we got rolling, and of course we missed the connections. So we're in Frankfurt, and if anybody's been to that particular airport, it's a city, not an airport. It's ridiculously large, and it has elevators that go up and down, and the sections, they kept changing our gate on us too. And since we missed the connection, we had a 10-hour wait there.
Oh, jeez.
So 10 o'clock at night, we're flying out of there. It was supposed to be just a up and down flight to Prague, and no, we got in there, and by the time we got to the hotel, it was 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. The boys played that day, so by the time they got themselves settled, and they were supposed to go to the arena in the afternoon, drop their equipment off. Nope, everything had to go in, and then the next morning on the transit, they had to take their equipment to the arena, which is nuts. Now think about a goalie trying to take all that equipment with them. But here's the other stupid thing: is the Gales goalie, the starting goalie, he had a passport issue or something and a ticket issue, and so he missed the flights with us. Then he wound up doing that same stupid thing in Frankfurt the day after. So he missed the first 2 games of the tournament and joined them in game 3.
Wow.
So, I was Steven Stamp was there, and he was calling all the games, as seen in this picture here. Stamper out looking over the field, but I mentioned to him. So in his commentary in the first game, which the Gales dropped to Alberta, which they shouldn't have, but they did. He goes simply, it's amazing they could still hold a stick after all they've been through trying to get there and get all this stuff together. Now, Prague, if anybody has been there, you know that you can do almost anything. You can wander around with an open beer, get on a transit thing with an open beer. You can go downtown. As long as you're paying, they're going to be open all night long. It's crazy in some of these clubs. So, oh, look, Eduardo. Hello, Eduardo. I've had a hell of a day. I've had a hell of a day because our trek back was almost as fun as our trek out. So it's hard to get this out, man. I pissed off a cop in Prague by taking his picture. So I thought I wasn't getting on a plane. Luckily, that passed by. But we get on, we go over to Frankfurt, and of course, all the fun and excitement happens in Frankfurt. And we go to they changed our gate while we were in the air. We hadn't even got there yet. They changed our gate already again. And now it was like cattle in this area. They made us get up with our boarding passes so they could stamp it cleared, that they saw that my picture matched my passport. Wouldn't you do that when I'm swiping in to get in? Then we go back. Then we come back again, and then we do the Swiss Family Robinson, economy over here and other people over here. And it was just a mill of people. So the plane, of course, was, delayed by about an hour. And here we wind up in Toronto. One of the other things I didn't mention was, of course, that the face-off guy, Tyler, we still don't know where his equipment is. So he had to borrow. He had his clothes in that bag too. So he had to borrow clothes. He had to borrow equipment. He had to borrow. We found a jersey for him. Everything. Like he had nothing for a week in Prague.
Jeez.
Yeah. It gets sillier and sillier the more you. Oh my god! Oh, shout out to Mike.
No problem.
You mean you're editing an article while driving, Eduardo? Come on now. No editing and driving. Anyways, guys, it was. I'm glad to be back. I loved it there. A few little things there that might open your eyes a little bit. First of all, the field itself. This is I got up to the wall. Wayne Colley of NLL goalie fame. He coaches the Dutch team. He got me up to the very top of the building so I could take a picture of the whole thing. Really is an impressive venue. It is really, really cool. And in the tents, you see in front there is, in case it rains, you're sitting in there. And there's tables there because they have grilling going on. So you can get sausage. You can get a few other things in there. In the morning, you get bacon and eggs out of there. There's a beer thing beside it. There's another beer thing up on the top. I should bring one of the cups because they're not just a cup. They have a little hook on there so you can put it on your shirt. You can carry 5 or 8 of them out by hooking them onto one another. It really is cool. NL has a Robusky tournament on there. On the top of the barrack. Well, first of all, let me go in the barracks and here's where all the teams were changing, except for the top couple of teams who had cages of their own stuff. Now, with all this mishmash of stuff, let me explain that nothing goes missing. Nobody helps themselves to somebody else's stuff. That's the beauty of lacrosse community from all over the world. I had people recognize me all over the place all week, and it's just astounding. And to me, it still blows my mind that it happens. And I appreciate every one of you who is watching now or watching later or reading us. And thank you so much for following us. We really appreciate it because we try and give you as much as we can from as many places as we can because we love this game so much. And the idea is to grow it. Simple. And if you were listening to me there, it's exactly the same mantra. A little bit about those barracks. Hitler, here's his bird that's still on top there, the Nazi eagle. He used that field area and the barracks for his officers to do their marching exercises. This was the reason why Prague was never touched in the wars. Hitler loved Prague. He actually wanted to make it his capital. So that's why you still have 500, 600-year buildings that are now being masoned and cleaned up nicely to do it. A little bit about the tournament itself. The winner this year was actually from Canada. The Nova Scotia Privateers won the championship, beating the home squad and defending champion LC Ratitan. And what a team. Ratitan beat the Gales. It was interesting, though, because the home refs had a little bit to do with that. They tended not to want to call things one way, but they did want to call things the other way. And it was fairly blatant, but it is what it is, right? There's still a little bit to go in the game. But it is what it is. At the second last day, after the games of the day were over, the kids came on the field. And mostly Green Gales were there giving clinics. There were guys from other teams, but mostly it was Green Gales giving the kids clinics. The kids loved it. The guys liked it even more than kids. The biggest thing to go on the market there of make a trade was anything Green Gale. It was pretty cool to watch. At the end of it, a couple of NLLers on that team and a couple of soon-to-be NLLers. Will Condriff was on that team, and hopefully he puts his paperwork in correctly so he'll be involved in the draft this year. Cam Milligan, we've all heard his name before through Rochester or Panther City. He was on the team. He scored, I think, 10 goals. Bryce Tolmie from New York Riptide fame. He was on the team as well. He actually won Defensive Player of the tournament. but he had about 7 or 8 goals himself. He was everywhere, everywhere. And in the airport, he showed me the bruise that he had on his hip from blocking a couple of shots, from either setting picks or being hammered with some of these other things that were going on. And the thing was a whole bunch of colors, and it ran right down his leg. And don't think it's a tough sport. Take a look at some of the guys. Jason Bragg of Peterborough Timberman fame there from the ALL. He was putting on a brace on his knee at the end. But boy, oh boy, these guys play tough. And another testament to the Gales is they only had one scrimmage before they came out to Raditon. And from what I saw from that point to the team that got off the airplane today, well, that team came off as one. It was really incredible to watch these guys gel on and off the floor. And they just are best buddies everywhere. It really is amazing. And again, shows you the power of lacrosse. And a really talented team, a young team. So I'm hoping that that they are able to hold them together. Now, they did finish 6th overall. There's your captain, Brendan McFarlane. And, well, the guy on the left is Will Condriff and his brother Jack. On the other side, who was the backup goalie who actually wound up playing the first couple of games. Great guys. Absolutely fantastic guys. They made me feel part of that team, so much so that they had me on the bench taking pictures throughout the tournament, which was amazing. I can't say enough about it, and I can't, you talk about the tournament and you see video of it or you watch it and you hear recounts of it, and it doesn't do it justice because it's a millionfold more than I ever expected, and I already knew what I was getting into when I was going. Eduardo, you finished 11th there driving Jack's Father to the Swarm game. You're an animal. You're famous in Jacksonville, Orlando, and Tampa. Thank you so much. Our next cruise, guys, when we were going part of the Muffler Mike fan club. Once again, we get the flag out for that one. Evening, boys. Good evening, Grant. Thank you for joining us. So it was the most amazing thing, this tournament. Bear with me. I'm going to try and put up the Dutch actually interviewed me. And if you haven't seen it, bear with me for a couple of minutes because I'm actually coherent. So it's really, really a cool thing. So let's give it a shot here and see if what comes up. Here we go.
Each other in person. I know you from the internet. You know me from the internet. We're all internet famous. But, this is my daughter. Okay. Hi guys. Give me a second. Do an interview here. Is it okay? I don't know. Cross check him in the neck. Almost, yeah. Almost. So close. This is what I know best, yeah. So what's up? What brought you here to the tournament here?
I've heard so much about it. I was invited by Doug Louie and the Green Gales, and I couldn't turn it down. I had to see this for myself. One of the most amazing things. You put this in your own expectations, and you have it set this high, and then it exceeds it a millionfold. This was incredible. To see the love of lacrosse from all over the world firsthand, you can't put that into words. It's just amazing. And
so you've been over the pond for earlier, or is this the first time over the oceans? Or?
I've been over for different things, but this is the first time for this tournament and this kind of spectacle. This is absolutely overwhelming. Here's on the back standing on end from watching all this.
So yeah, I don't want to hold you from this final, but I just wanted to have a little bit just beforehand. So for you, what brings you to lacrosse? What gives you the energy to do all the stuff you do for lacrosse in general, for the good of the game?
My mantra has always been to grow the game any way I can. And if I can do it through playing, through coaching, through media, to get more butts in the seats, to get more people to view it, that's what I'm going to do. I will talk endlessly until people are tired of hearing me about the greatness of the game. We've had it as the greatest secret to mankind forever. It's time to let the genie out of the bottle, let everybody in on it, because if you haven't seen it, go see it. If you have seen it, come again. It is the most amazing thing. The creator's game, the medicine game is truly that.
So 2 questions I asked the people here. Is one, what's the spirit of the game for you inside the field and outside the field? Let's start at inside the field.
Inside the field is just the magic of seeing the skill, the camaraderie, and everything that goes into a team doing what they have to do to win, as well as to be cohesive as a group. Outside of it, the lacrosse community is not that big a community, but a very tight-knit community all over the world. If anybody has a problem or an issue, the community comes together, and to me, you can't replace that. The trueness of the lacrosse people is something to behold and to join into. And in a world being so crazy as it is, to have something like this to hold on to is truly something that your heart can warm and wrap around forever.
Beautiful, beautiful words. And that being said, do you see or feel a difference between the Europes and the North Americas now that you are experiencing it here in Prague?
What I'm noticing is that the European game is starting to become more like the North American game. And what I've told a lot of people is that, yes, in a lot of these tournaments, Canada, US, Haudenosaunee are on the top, but if they don't watch themselves, everybody is getting much, much better, much, much quicker. And
So you mean the level?
The level of lacrosse is, if you take a look at even this tournament, the level of lacrosse is so symmetrically equal that, anybody can win any game in this tournament. And the skill levels are increasing at such a high level and so quickly that, the sky's the limit for how this game can go where it goes.
Speaking of the sky, we see the moon there. Looking. We have the final here. Let's go watch it.
Absolutely.
Gary, thanks for being here. I know you're from the internet. I finally saw you in real life, and I appreciate everything you're doing. And I can do whatever I can to help you. Because we have the same agenda. We are just here to grow the game, right?
Any way we can. # grow the game.
That's what we do. And this is the future, right? Girls lacrosse, boys lacrosse for girls or boys.
Absolutely.
Or children. You see them here. You see them walking everywhere.
Absolutely. And everybody's with a stick. And everybody's with a jersey and excited.
Together, Gary.
Yes, sir. Enjoy it. Absolutely. Thank you. Anything you need.
Go that way. Walk that for the end of the shot. It's nice. Love you.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Awesome.
That's great, yeah.
There we go. Yeah, isn't that something? So, just out of the blue, he come up and talk to me. Now, of course, I say Wayne Colley and Neil Pallas are running that team with his help because he's in Netherlands, and those guys are up here most of the year and flying in and trying to help with a few practices here and there. So, all these teams have a lot of logistical issues to deal with, one way or the other, with people coming from everywhere. Drew Candy was another former NLR. He was playing with the River Rats. Jeff Shatler was playing with one of the teams as well. It was kind of funny that he recognized me in the bar. So, as we were getting our cups with hooks. Yeah. By the way, you all know my joke, y'all. Of course, it's time for a turf monster, right? Well, after this week was strike that, and we'll just go with it. What a beer, man!
new show sponsor.
Yep.
Yes. Well, while I get to that, before I forget entirely about the network, gee whiz. Remember that episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, and you can catch all the action on ELPsports.com. Remember to hit subscribe, follow, and like, and always share with your friends, family, and everybody else you can think of. You can enjoy our affiliates also, like the Broad Street Bully Podcast, Philly Press Box Radio, Edge of Philly Sports Live, Bird's Eye Q, Talking Philly Sports with Matty B, Devereaux Sports, Painted Lions, Party on Broad. If you missed a show, no worries. You can check it out on the ELP YouTube page. If you're looking for our show, you can check it out on All Across All the Times YouTube page, or you can grab the podcast on all major podcasting companies, which include Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Spotify. And remember to always stay up to date by checking out ELPsports.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. Also, while you're there, please subscribe to our weekly newsletter. And, of course, you can sign up at ELPsports.com. If you're looking for a place just to relax or be out with your friends or call it an evening, Dolan's is a place where you want to be. 24 East Sellers Avenue, Ridley Park. Quiz music, great times, memorabilia giveaway. dolansbar.com if you want to check it out, but really you want to get your butt over there and have a beer with the boys. Sherry's Ticket Town. SherryTickets.com is easy to use and has no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Pay less and play more with Sherry'sTickets.com. Save even more by using the exclusive promo code EOP10. Don't pay hidden fees and save 10%. Why use any other ticket reseller and get those hard-to-come-by tickets to the big game? If you need more of a personal touch, you can give them a call at 610-494-5050 or visit their office at 1382 Nauman's Creek Road, Suite 1, Garnet Valley, Pennsylvania. Sherry'sTickets.com also has great theater and concert tickets that are hard to get your hands on. Remember, don't overpay with the rest, save with the best. Sherry'sTickets.com. Save 10% extra by using the promo code EOP10. Philly sports trips. Well, we're coming up to that big ultimate Philadelphia Union and Philadelphia Phillies double dip into Colorado. Check out phillysportstrips.com for more that they have to offer. And if you wind up with some trouble, David R. Cherry Esquire and his associates at the Cherry Firm will be more than happy to give you a hand. 610-565-0300 or cherryinjurylaw.com. Workers' comp claims, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, or criminal law. David R. Cherry and his firm will be happy to try and give it a go. It really is time for a Pilsner, you know? Remember, upcoming things is the Rob McDougall Celebrity Lacrosse game and full day of activities July 8th at the Toronto Rock Athletic Center if you are in Ontario. And if you're not in Ontario, you've got until July 8th to get to Ontario. All day long of different things, and it's followed up with the big deal, the Celebrity Lacrosse game at 7 p.m. Additional things is a silent auction, Cameron's Brewery Beer Garden, food 50-50, and live music. Only $10 to enter, and kids under 12 will get free. All the proceeds will be donated to Kids Sport Ontario, so all kids can play. Definitely a worthwhile cause. The following week, of course, is 2 weeks after that is Fan Cup. Yours truly will be stumbling along in that game, and there will be all kinds of memorabilia to be bidding on and to be auctioned off. It really is incredible. A couple more little bits of tidbit that I got. I caught a ball in that final game where Nova Scotia had beat Team Raditon in overtime. One ball came flying out, and since it looked like Woodstock out there with the rain and things like that, and I wanted to make sure that I caught it before falling into the mud. So I did get it, and I got the Green Gales to sign for me, and I want to thank them all for doing that. What a great souvenir.
Awesome.
Now, being a Dutch guy, my mom being Dutch, the Dutch team I have an affinity for, and so they gave me one of their hoodies, which to me is very, very sentimentally special. And on the back, of course, you have the logo of all the Holland teams with the lion. Just an absolutely amazing piece. Before we get on to the NLL, I just want to give a bit of history of why there's a Hrubeski tournament. Bear with me again. I'm sorry if I'm sounding long-winded, but I've just been a week there and trying to unwind while I'm doing it. It's kind of therapeutic. But the Alex Hrubeski Box Lacrosse Memorial is held because of the Lacrosse Club Custodes, which is the LC Raditon team, to honor its former player who died tragically in the autumn of 1993. Alex Hrubeski was born July 1st, 72, and was among the most gifted LC players. Moreover, he was a keen ice hockey player, gymnast, and cycleball player. On November 30th, 93, he died of the injuries caused by a drunk driver who had hit him at a bus stop. In the early years of the tournament, was traditional opening of the Czech lacrosse season at the end of March. Teams usually played on a muddy field, dried with layers of shavings and sawdust. The 8th Memorial in 2001 brought a break. Thanks to a generous grant from the city of Prague and the effort of LCC members, the arena was refurbished and an artificial surface laid. The grand opening was part of the Alex Hrubeski Memorial, which also had another first. Teams from abroad, the USA, Germany, and even Japan, took part for the first time. It became the first tournament ever in the history of the world box lacrosse with participants from more than 2 countries. The champion that year was LCC Radisson. The next year, 2 American teams participated and a few professional players played for the Team Rebel. In 2007, for the first time, a team from the homeland of box lacrosse, Green Gaels from Ontario, Canada, took part. The young team fulfilled its role of favorite and went undefeated to take the cup. In 2014, another milestone was set. For the first time, compete native Iroquois teams. Kanawaki Rapids took part, and there were several world vice champions on the roster, and the Rapids won the tournament trophy. In 2018, the 24 teams playing system was introduced, with several games played in different arena. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, the tournament was canceled in 2020 and 2021, and after last year's restart with 21 teams, the tournament returns to its highest level. This would be the 30th year, but because of COVID, it made it the 28th year. So just a little background on just how incredible this tournament is, and I'll keep quiet about it the rest of the night, I promise. But it was great. I even have my Radisson t-shirt on. Really cool the way you get there too. You take trolleys and go through the town, because Radisson's just outside of Prague, and in a little tinier town of a couple of thousand people. So, and everybody comes to it. And when the home team is in the finals, that place was rocking for that final. So, all right, guys, we have NLL to talk about because we're now into playoffs. Oh, Eduardo. Jamaican team, yeah. It's not just bobsledding anymore, is it? Sport's growing by leaps and bounds. It is, and excuse me, I have a number of friends who are in Uganda and Kenya, and they are constantly messaging, looking for advice, and coaches out there. We got Dave Libby, who's out in Uganda, from Massachusetts, who's helping build the programs, and these guys are getting really decent. I believe Uganda is going to be in the World Lacrosse as well, sending a team because they won the African leg of it. So pretty amazing stuff. Okay, we're waiting for Patrick to join us for the Philadelphia game against Rochester. So why don't we start out, Mike, with the Bandits going against your Albany Firewolves. By the way, they're missing their they were missing their the team equipment manager, because he was part of the Green Gaels as well, and he's still out there. Tommy's awesome. Tommy's awesome, but yeah.
Yeah, so Albany obviously still winless at home, looking for one last chance to get a W in front of the home crowd. Unfortunately, it did not happen. Buffalo took control in the second half, kind of cruised to a 16-10 victory. With the win, they lock up the #1 overall seed. So they have home field or home floor advantage throughout the playoffs,
right?
Which is definitely going to come in handy, especially if they make the finals. With I think 2 games being played on the same weekend now,
right?
So, the usual suspects for Buffalo. You had Josh Byrne, 3 goals, 5 assists. Chris Cloutier, 4 and 1. Dane Smith, 2 and 4, and Chase Fraser with 3 and 3. So, definitely firing on all cylinders. Certainly a bit of a change from the last couple of years when they've kind of struggled and stumbled, going into the playoffs.
Sure.
So, and who knows?
And they're healthy.
Yeah.
It took all year to get that way, but last week against Toronto, and now the week against Albany, they've had a couple of games to get their timing back, and they're healthy, which makes them even more scary.
Yep, healthy and hungry. And for Albany, unfortunately winless at home. They dropped to 3-15, and I have them up on the door because they are the winners of the Dyson Williams sweepstakes. Well, we think. So we'll get to that a little later with the draft order.
Yeah.
Yeah, barring any moves, yeah.
Yeah. All right, without further ado, I'd like to bring us into the Wings Nest. And here is Pat. Welcome, Pat.
What's up, boys? What's going on?
Hey, Pat.
Pat's been doing traveling too, man. How'd you like Rochester?
I love it. Confusing, but I loved it. I love getting confused. If that sounds anything normal, I mean,
I love that arena. So I love being able to go anywhere I want in there and do anything I have to do to get things done. And the fans are amazing, and the people from Rochester are amazing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the passion those fans bring to that arena is just something unique.
Did you drive a bus? Like, what brought all the Philly fans out there, man? You must have driven a bus out there.
Well, I mean, listen, they do call me the mayor of Ambler here, so I mean, once they started figuring it out, all the rest of the Wings Nest came up with me because I start to see some Wing fans up there from that. From
Lacrosse it looks like a thing there, It'd be like
the dudes now dragging some cobras. That's what I do. I just go like this to the Wings Nest, and they follow up. They flock. We flock together. So, but like I said, phenomenal arena, great people who work there. I got to meet a lot of cool people from the front office, and man, great stuff. Shout out to my man Warren, who really took care of me and got me through the whole scene up there. But yeah, parking, yes, they actually have 2 great parking areas. I got to know by going down the wrong way street. So, but yes, they got some great parking. Nonetheless,
the construction out front there doesn't help either. I know.
No. Once I asked an officer, I said, "Where does the media guys park?" He just looked at me like a deer in the headlights. Like, what are you talking about, friend? Go over there. So, but no further ado. Great, good time. But let's get down to business. Yeah, a throwaway win that means got you further away from a top seed in drafting. But what I did. And to sum up, this is their whole season in a nutshell. Day and night. If your first half, phenomenal. The Wings throw out a front 4 defense that was stellar. Higgins was on his A game. Nothing was getting by him. He gave up 1 goal in the first half. It looked really, really sharp. I mean, there's nothing less. Good ball moment. Setting screens. Mitch Jones just Mitch Jones doing Mitch Jones things, just being a playmaker. The hometown hero turned into a hometown nightmare. Blaze just being the bulldozer. Him finding himself, finding himself on the scoreboard. But you look on the right, then the second half happens, and then your Philadelphia Wings just fall apart. That game was going to 10 more minutes. The Wings would have lost that game. The Rochester Nighthawks were coming heated, and Katoni just recorded a hat trick. I mean, he was just lights out for those guys. I mean, just played magnificent, lacrosse for them. Just finding the back of that. Him, Connor Fields start to get cooking in the fourth quarter. Like I said, if that game was to go 10 more minutes, there would have been a change of an outcome. So, like I said, sluggish start for your Rochester Nighthawks. I think they were just thinking about the playoffs, and then they just adjusted well. So, but like I said, that is just unfortunately the like I said, it's the Wings season in a nutshell. First half looks great. Second half, I don't know where they're at. I don't know if they're thinking about cheesesteaks. I don't know if they're thinking about vacation, fishing. I don't know. But their heads weren't in the game in that second half.
Right.
Terrible.
All right. Well, we'll see what goes on behind the scenes now that it's off season over in Philadelphia. Rochester gets Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo first round of playoffs. Well, hey, maybe that this game, getting thrashed in the first half like that's gonna wake them up. So
you would hope they get Buffalo in the end. But speaking of getting into the play, the reason why Rochester is in fourth is Halifax and Georgia played each other, and winner gets the playoff spot. And Halifax comes away with a convincing 17-11 victory.
Yeah, so This game was tied after 3 quarters, believe it or not.
Amazing, isn't it?
The score, wouldn't seem to indicate that that it was that close, until the last 15 minutes. But big performance, obviously, for Halifax. The biggest performance, I'd say, was Chris Boucher, 5 goals and 8 assists, I believe. So, yeah, those last 15 minutes, it's kind of a shame that it kind of deteriorated like that, because it was just a lot of back and forth, a lot of runs. Georgia came out on fire, scored the first 3. Halifax came back with 4-goal run in the first quarter themselves. They had a 7-6 lead at the half. Again, Boucher, I mean, I don't know if the NLL's picked their player of the week yet, and I know we'll get to Jeff Teet's pursuit of the single season record, among other things. But if Chris Boucher isn't the NLL player of the week this week, so someone needs to be fired in the NLL front office, because I mean, just three straight goals in the fourth quarter to pretty much just put the game out of reach, when they needed it most. And, coupled with the Rochester loss, obviously, a head-to-head tie with Rochester record-wise, and Halifax holds a tiebreaker. So they actually leapfrog from 5th to 3rd in the process. So they're going to, of course, their prize is to go to Hamilton this weekend to play the Toronto Rock.
But deteriorated is what you said, right, Mike? Well, let's see. Good thing you're not still roommates. Thoughts against Jeremy Thompson.
Yeah.
I could have created a few things. I forgot one thing from the Rubeski tournament, Mike. I forgot what it was like to be on the bench there and showing the crowd.
Coming right to 1, 2, 3, 4. Go.
My favorite thing is actually the beer cups. They clip onto your shirt. If you clip onto each other, you can carry like 20 of these things. Really great idea. I love them. It's our new crystal pattern here. I have about 6 or 10 of them here now. So it's funny because they ran out of 2023.
Pat probably spent the first half hour before he came on just searching, where do I find these cups?
It was amazing.
He's going on to Amazon or something.
What do you think I'm doing now?
And like I say, that they ran out of 2023, so all of a sudden I started getting 2022 cups, 2018 cups. Well, look at those collections. Up on the mantle.
Yep.
I told you I got here. I'm scoring the tag from that got me into the benches, right? So,
oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna need to get a pair of scissors here soon. But yeah, man, it's so the Stotts Thompson fight that was just an exemplary thing that was going on in that. Eduardo found the cup online. You got to talk to
listen to that, Eduardo. I'm still looking it up, my man. I'm still looking.
Eduardo's your lookup, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
He's like a bloodhound.
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, I think we in that game we saw the Halifax I think we all feel like we should have been seeing all year, as far as consistency goes and just spreading around. I mean, Stotts had a goal and 6 assists, Jammer 2 and 5, Fennell 2 and 1, Clark Peterson 4 and 1. Warren Hill, standing tall, 34 saves. I mean, obviously, hindsight's 20/20, but when it comes to Georgia, I mean, they won 8 out of their last 9, and then, as soon as they got into that, that final spot, they dropped their last 2 games, and they didn't have Andrew Q for either of them. who was, probably, arguably the hottest player in the league over the second half of the season.
Right.
Even hotter than Schreiber or Mitch Jones or pretty much anyone for that matter.
Yeah.
And you just have to wonder, either of those games, that they could have beat Rochester, which certainly would have helped Philly's cause because they ended up doing what they had to do and win their last 2 games, and they'd be in the playoffs right now.
Sure.
Had Georgia won that game.
And I'll say with Gordo, he's telling the jerseys are awesome. Yes, those native names on them were cool, which is the reason why the commissioner was in the building to see this, right? So, pretty amazing and to have him there.
Yeah.
By the way, he's going to send you the links, Pat.
Thanks, Eduardo, my man. Thank you. We'll
all be with cups on our shirt soon.
I know, like, not to go back to the Wings game, but I'm almost certain they dropped like 10 goals. They gave up like 10 goals in that fourth. Like, I'm almost certain. I'm just trying to look at my stats together, and it was just like I said. I'm just so disgusted. Like, I'm just trying to figure out how and what and why did how can this happen? Because like I said, that first half was so crisp by this Wings team. I'm just still puzzled of what I saw live. I've seen, like I said, their defense was nasty. They were shutting things down.
I mean, the best thing we could probably tell you, Pat, is no lead is safe in the NLL. I mean, as bad as that was, I mean, look at what happened with that Vancouver game in Vegas. Was it in Vegas or no? It was home.
Yeah, it was in Vegas.
When they had something like an 11-goal lead, and they had an 11-goal lead at halftime, and they lost.
It's funny you said that because after the post-game interviews I was doing, I got back to my hotel room and I clip on and I got NLL action, and that was the game I was watching. So I got to see a little tidbit of some Vegas action. And it was, like I said, it was, very interesting. So, like I said, so that not only the Philadelphia Wings are having issues holding down leads, apparently it's on the West Coast as well. So, but like I said, I just, if there's a lot of questions to be answered, how they're going to sign Mitch Jones this off season. They're going to have to build around him. They're going to have to do something on your defensive side, And I know I wrote this to you too, Gary. I think Paul Day is somewhat to blame. If there's a gray spot on this team, he's part of it. And because when you started giving up that kind of lead, this has got to come into play. This has got to come into play. You got to throw that timeout. You got to start slowing down the momentum. If you're seeing Rochester come out like a ball of fire, you kind of feels is doing what he's got to do. Slow down. Call the timeout. Quick TO. You got to slow down the momentum. You got to come into a game plan.
Sure.
So
what I'd like to do is take that segue that you all brought up and I'll bring it to Shawn in with the Saskatchewan game, because Saskatchewan has found again another overtime win.
Actually, it didn't go overtime, but it nearly did.
Oh, okay.
It nearly did. Yeah, it was a wild game, man. After trading kind of goals, Rush went up 2-1 in the first quarter when Vegas came up with 3 goals to go up 4-2. Then it kind of got weird from there because every time the Rush seemed like they'd get something going, they'd get within one, Vegas would just bounce back and get that 2-goal lead back. It wasn't until the fourth quarter. Zach Greer, 2 minutes in, made it 11-8 to make a 3-goal lead. Then Rush got goals from Lintner and Boudreau. Now all of a sudden they're within 1. Greer burns his old team again, makes it 12-10. And then in the last little over 3 minutes, the Rush bang, 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 3 goals. Ryan Keenan, with probably one of his better games of the year, picked up a couple. And then with 39 seconds left, I'm going to go actually back before Mark Matthews' game-winning goal, 39 seconds left. It's a tie game. Reed Reinhold has a breakaway. You have a young Leighton Rushkin in goal. He makes the stop, and we talked about it last week. The posure of this kid. Probably any other rookie would have folded in that pressure. He made the stop. Rubish picked up the rebound, got it to Boudreau, who found Matthews coming out of the gate. Matthews stopped. There's some defenders in front of him. Instead of passing it off, he took the shot. and scored with 30, I think it was 38.1 seconds left in the game, and that was the game winner.
Right. Now, Saskatchewan's probably the best one-goal team in the league when these games are going down to 1-1 goal or going in overtime. And if they're so consistent when it's like that, why is it like this for some? And some games, they just look like they went on vacation for 2 quarters.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I wish I had the answer to it.
Yeah.
And I think, again, I think part of it comes down to goaltending, especially in the latter half of the year, where like they'd stay in close, but then they weren't getting those saves when they needed them, and other teams would just run away with them.
You think he's now ready for the NLL thing?
I think so, especially that last save off of Reed.
Well, that'd be good news to Keenan because now he doesn't have to waste a draft pick on that since it's sitting there in the stable already. I want to jump and I want to go over to the Vancouver game, because this is weird. Like Vancouver jumps out to a decent lead on I don't know. New York scores the first 2 goals in the first quarter, but all of a sudden 5 straight goals from Vancouver, and they certainly look like they have it in hand heading near halftime. And of course, it's Vancouver, so nothing's safe. And 2 quick goals by the Riptide by Kiernan and, of course, Jeff Teat. And it's 5-4 heading into the half with full momentum going to New York. Now, what do you say to your team to keep the charge going? What needs to happen to keep Vancouver going? Because obviously that didn't happen, because when it came out for the next thing, it was all New York Riptide with a 6-goal third quarter, and this is game over. You know, it doesn't matter what they do. Farrell was actually able to get his first beautiful come from behind, stick it in the net from behind the net. His first goal as a Warrior. But other than that, man, you know, then you had another couple of goals, 3 goals from the Riptide, followed by 1 from New York. 2 goals from the Riptide, followed by another 1 from Vancouver. And then, of course, Jeff Teat, because that's what Jeff Teat does. And, you know, we would talk about the Oh My thing, you know, the Oh My video of the week. And this time it's even just from practice. It got me going, oh my. And just so you know what I'm talking about. That's right, oh my. In case you were sneezing for a second. That's just unfair. You know, what skill?
It's like a magician. Like
what was it? There's about this much. There's about this much space for it to go in, and it went in.
Yep. Yeah.
And well, that was one of your answers of what happened. But how does Vancouver have such a great second and go so flat, so fast that they don't ever resurrect themselves, and that's it? Is that team that bad, or is there something else that I'm missing in this? Because they're not a bad team. You look at them on paper. They have good players, and they have a good coach, and they have a good GM, and they have a good this and a good that. And you have Aaron Bold being a goalie coach as well as a goalie. And you have all these positives that have happened this year, yet they're still doing these things which just completely bewilder me, that they can shut down for 35 minutes at a time and just take a lead that looks like they're just running away with it and make them chase being doubled by the end of the game.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is just a huge step backwards for them. Like after they made that trade with Mitch Jones, and things started looking up again, and then bringing in Bold, and they started looking like maybe they could be a contender again, and then they just lay an egg like this. It's just it does make you scratch your head. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's. I mean, I guess you. I don't want to compare and contrast too much, but I mean, you know, Pat's concerns about Philly. I mean, are they really that much different with Vancouver? Maybe the only difference I can think of is just again, it's just you got to keep working on that culture because
right.
You know there are guys there who have been through a lot of losing seasons there.
Mm-hmm. So do you need to cut bait and start new?
With those guys, I mean, maybe some of them. I mean,
but unfortunately, to land a big free
know,
agent or a big draft pick, you're going to have to part with a good player. They're not just going to take the bottom of the roster and go, here, have 2 firsts and a second. Love to see you get back into this.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, I guess that's maybe one of the differences going into the off season.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to keep contrasting that with Philadelphia, is obviously they've got Philadelphia's first round pick this year as well from the Mitch Jones trade.
Yeah.
So, you know, right now they're looking at the number 2 pick, and then Philly's pick would be the 7th pick.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got 2 of the top 7 picks. They also have Owen Grant coming in.
Yeah,
who they drafted last year is coming in. So I almost feel like if you want to again contrast it with Philly, it almost feels like they're less pieces away from succeeding than Philly would be right now.
Right.
Which isn't entirely accurate, because I personally think, and I talk with Pat off the air about this, I think the issue with the I don't think there's an issue with the offense.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 200-point scorers in Resetarits and Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've got young guys coming in. You know, Sam LeClaire's going to be a great depth scorer. Tate Katoni. Again, they have that problem that's good to have but bad to have, in that they have a lot of lefties right now.
Right.
Got Hunter Lemieux, who's, you know, only a few games into his career. You've got Kyle Jackson, who's on the injured list or protected player list. We're assuming that's because of an injury.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's maybe another piece that if they don't think he's going to fit in Philadelphia, that you move, and maybe you can move him for a defender somewhere. I think when you're looking at the defense, I think they need to find an identity. I think they have a good mix of players, but it almost seems like they have almost like these separate camps of players. Like you have your tough physical guys, your Tutton and Schul and, you know, Brock Sorensen. And then, you know, you've got some of your speedier guys who are more athletic. You've got Wagner and Minichiello, Isaiah Davis-Allen. You know, obviously you're all set at the X with.
Mm-hmm.
I think it almost sounds like they kind of need to pick one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Like just gonna go with long athletic guys and start to do more transition, like a Calgary, like a City, like a Toronto. Question. I mean, obviously, you know, I mean, how many weeks now have we been talking about guys who've been injured and who haven't been playing, say, the last month or more? You know, in the case of Albany, with, you know, Nardo and Kitchen. You know, I've talked about them. Like, hey, like, yeah, they're assets you want to keep, but they're also not on the floor showing, hey, you need to keep me for next season.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you need to look at me as a major part of your offense. You know, you know, it comes down to, you know, doesn't matter how good you are. If you're not on the floor, you know, someone's taking your place and, you know, possibly showing the coaching staff that they deserve to stay in that place for next year. So,
okay.
I'm sorry. Totally agree with everything Mike said. You nailed everything perfectly about this Philadelphia Wings team. Offensively, they got all the pieces right there. You see, Mitch Jones, Joe Rastis. You have guys who can step up, but your defense, geez, your defense. That's what I look. Your defense is an issue. Your goaltending could be an issue when he gives up multiple goals and your head coach doesn't make the adjustments. Slow it down. Let's make he doesn't make his defensive scheme doesn't make adjustments when when other coaches are starting to figure you out and come up with things to score on you, you still stick to the same game plan. You have to start changing things up, and I don't know if Paul Day can do that. I don't know if he makes those right quick adjustments.
Sure.
Like I said, he had what was working for him in the first half, the front four defense and keeping one guy protecting the goaltender, which was fine. And then Rochester figured some things out, make adjustments. Connor Fields getting hot at the right time, finding guys open, etc. And the offensive scheme was working for the Wings, where they were setting set screens or leaving guys wide open, all that stuff. But like I said, your problem is the coaching and your goaltending, because when he starts to get sloppy, he doesn't adapt to what his needs are or start to slow down the momentum of the other team. He just keeps on going, keeps on going. Like I said, you gave that game 5 more minutes, and you would have a different outcome. I think Rochester would have gone on happy.
Right.
Yeah.
We got one more game to cover before we move on to some new business. San Diego and Colorado. Both teams wanted to have a little momentum going into the playoffs. San Diego wins 11.
This was kind of an interesting game, wasn't it? It was basically for Colorado's situation. It was win, and you don't have to see San Diego again in the first round. Lose, and we do it all over again next weekend.
For real.
Yeah. And for a while there, it was not looking good. San Diego held a 7-3 lead at the half and was kind of running away with it. And Colorado just kept chipping away in the second half, and just kind of got themselves close. They went on I guess between the end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter, a 5-goal run that got them kind of back into that game.
Right.
But then, a couple of kind of late goals by Shume actually, and put that game away.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So that covers the week that was. Now, playoff-wise, again, in the East, we've got Buffalo going to be facing Rochester, and Halifax going to be facing Toronto. Pretty amazing. Pretty great games. As far as I know, I'm at both of them. So I just can't stop traveling, Mike.
Yeah, I guess on paper, maybe it looks like the more intriguing one would be the Halifax-Toronto.
A rematch of last year.
Yeah. There's that. I certainly think, obviously Halifax had to win their game to get in, but by losing, Rochester almost, I think, did Halifax a favor, because I think Halifax matches up a little better with Toronto. The last few years, they've really struggled when they've played Buffalo.
Right.
They've typically, it's been, 4, 5, 6 goal games, that they've been losing to Buffalo, regardless of where they play. So,
ironically, I figured that Halifax matched up better with Buffalo than Georgia did. So, oh well, we'll find out.
That's definitely true. So, I still think, Rochester's not a pushover.
Right.
The way they got dominated, and certainly in the first half, I think, again, I think it's going to be a wake-up call for them. If you're Rylan Hartley, I mean, we were talking before the weekend began, about how Rylan Hartley could have ended up leading the league in minutes played and in saves. And, obviously getting pulled early, put the kibosh on those plans.
Yeah.
But, you certainly have to think that he's going to want to come out and have a heck of a game next weekend.
Yeah.
No, we
I
look
mean,
at
that's the biggest question mark, right? We've seen Rochester early this season. If they come out and kind of find their groove again, they'll definitely give Buffalo a game. But
Yeah.
if we keep playing like they have the last couple weeks, it could be a long night.
Well, we have a couple in the West, both good games. Seals versus Mammoth, and then next against Panther City. Like I say, both are good games. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, we just saw Colorado and San Diego play already, and I think really if they didn't spot San Diego a fairly decent lead in the second half, we might have even talked about a Mammoth victory.
Right.
So they can definitely hold their own there. And then basically, Panther City and Calgary, you're looking at two teams that really kind of mirror themselves, both tough transition teams that can just run you up and down the floor. And Panthers has been getting great goaltending from Nick Demode. And I mean, Christian Del Bianco is Christian Del Bianco. So, I mean, you got two really quick teams with great goaltending. It could be anybody's game.
For sure. Most definitely. Now, Mike, that brings us to the Dyson Williams sweepstakes.
Yeah. So, like I said, Albany's got the top pick. We know Vancouver has the number 2 pick. New York, I believe New York picks 3rd. They have the same record as Las Vegas, but I think on the tiebreaker, they end up picking 3rd. I can't remember what that tiebreaker. I think it's conference goal differential because they didn't play each other this year, which is kind of weird because Las Vegas played 1 less in division game than New York did. Yeah.
It's interesting. They're primed for upsets, and in the same respect, they're not primed for upsets.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good assessment. So, but Vegas will be picking 4th. Saskatchewan will pick 5th. Georgia will pick 6th, and then Philadelphia would add the 7th pick, but Vancouver has it. All the spots after that are basically based on how the playoffs play out.
Sure.
But wherever Rochester falls, Las Vegas gets that pick, and then wherever Panther City finishes, Georgia's getting that pick from the Connor Sellers trade a couple of years ago. So,
it should be an interesting week for sure, especially with one and done. Anything's possible. Anybody gets out to a quick start and tries to fend off their foe. We'll see in the next round.
I was just going to say with the draft, here's the caveat. Does Shawn Williams try to make a move to get Dyson?
Yeah. I think that's going to be obviously the big, question. Moving up 3 spots is. I think it's gonna end up meaning a bigger package than what they gave Rochester to swap. What was that, 1 and 2?
Yeah.
So, obviously, it makes sense for Vegas. Could that mean Bertrand maybe is coming back east? Maybe that's a piece that
would be a great piece. That would solve a lot of
he's willing to part with, and let's not forget that Albany has some pieces too. Again, we've talked about how Charlie Kitchen was injured, for half the season. Kieran McArdle was out the last third of the season. They've got other assets who haven't yet played in the NLLs, Michael Sowers, Grant Ament, they have the rights to. And I think the other thing to consider too would be certainly the play of John Piatelli this year. I think is certainly help
the grim situation.
Yeah. And I think, he definitely needs to be looked at as a piece to retain next year. The other piece, I would say that they'll need to take a hard look at, next year, should they decide to re-up them, is Travis Longboat, who didn't, who got injured in training camp and didn't play at all.
Right.
You know, and he has, you know, one intangible he had was prior playing experience with Connor Kelly on that right side from their time in New York together. So,
alrighty. Well, I'm going to leave it there as an abbreviated week. For one, I've been up 26 hours. For two, I want to save some for elimination round because then we start getting into the meat of it with best 2 out of 3s and you know, I mean, interesting weekends if they have 2 games in the same weekend. It's again, the parity is so strong that any one of these teams can beat the other team at any given day. So even if you think you got it right, something crazy can happen, and there it is, right?
Yep. Especially in the one and dones. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'd like to think that my picks are right, but there's always that upset in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Before we go, now that I'm like that segue, we have our final pick'ems of the year.
Oh boy.
What's funny is Mike's going, oh boy. If you look, Mike went 5-1. Shawn went 4-2. I went 4-2. Ryan went 3-3. Our final standings. I have 90 to 45 losses. I don't take my own advice because I'm not rich. Shawn's sitting there at 83.52. Ryan right on his heels at 82.53. And Mike, of course, 73.62 with a 5-1 week. Congratulations, Mike, for the best week of us all. And our champion for this year.
I'm out of here.
Wow.
And Mike gets the first overall pick in the draft.
Let me get my fictitious crown. And there we are. Oh, well. I don't know. It's one of those odd things. Normally I would fall apart, and looks like I just stayed.
I was the one who did that this year, Gary, because I was the one who was ahead, and then halfway through the season I just fell apart.
True. Yeah. It's true.
Like the
you
Alex
put me in this unfamiliar
of,
situation. You put me in this unfamiliar situation I know nothing about. And, here we are. But just before we call it a day, I just want to remind everybody that you can find everything that we're doing on all across all the time on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can go to our YouTube page to catch news, interviews, games, just our shows, all archived in the library. Come back 2-3 times a day because the news is always changing. And now with OSL that we have a partnership with, as well as MSL and WLA, as well as the PLL2, it should be a busy summer stretch for us as well. And don't forget that the President's Cup is in Ontario, and it will be at the Oakville Rock Center. So, you know, it's going to be around here too to make it all that much more interesting. So stay tuned. But yeah, it's going to be a busy summer for us all, I think. There's going to be a lot of lacrosse to be watched, and get out to your local arenas, guys. These teams can't operate on zero budgets. We were talking about that in Prague a little bit about teams and their low payrolls and their low this and that and the other, but they still need operating revenue. Otherwise, they're not going to do any of it. So, you know, that's a shot. Any last words, Pat?
Listen, this is my first time. I'm excited to see some NLL playoffs. I'll have to have some gray hairs coming out of me, worry about the Wings because they won't be involved. So I'm going to be able to sit back, kick back, and watch the elite of the elite go at it. And by the way, I have Rochester getting eliminated immediately. So, but then, and look, I get it. I'm excited for the fans there. It's their first time in franchise history. They get some playoff action. I think it's going to be a quick exit.
Okay, Shawn, last words.
Yeah, same thing. Just looking forward to playoffs because, as we mentioned, these teams are so close. Anything can happen. I wouldn't be surprised if anyone gets eliminated at this point.
Mike?
Yeah, I think I don't know who it'll be, but I think there's going to be one upset this weekend.
Me personally, I'm hoping it's not Toronto and Hamilton because, I'd like to see a few games. I'm intrigued to see a Buffalo-Toronto series for
Oh
3
my
games.
goodness! After last year, yeah, that
Yeah,
will be
see if they can
something.
repeat that. I don't, it's tough to put them to that kind of a, oh my God. But the first game was like 1,800 to 1,799 or something like that. So, it was ridiculous. Everything that went near the net went in. So, I'm pretty sure that we're in for a better one in this side. But who knows? And all I know is that if you can get to the games, get to them. If you can't, watch them. Support your local sponsors, and don't just kick back and have a Pilsner or a Turf Monster.
Nice.
Make sure you're up at the Rock.
It just doesn't seem the same anymore.
You can celebrate that victory, right? But yeah, for Pat from Philly, from Shawn over in Moose Jaw, got it this week, Shawn, and for Muffler Mike over in Connecticut, I'm Gary Groob, who I don't know where I am anymore. So you're in Toronto.
Prague Junior.
Prague.
Flyer a little later. Wait till the World's Cup in San Diego. I still won't know where I am. Anyways, remember to come check us out, and you can check all of our stuff at elpsports.com/lacrosse, as well as all the other sites that I just gave you. But remember, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and you can catch everything up to the minute and on all things lacrosse related. So for the boys, I want to thank you all. Next week, I just want to remind everybody as we have a Sunday morning show, because once again, I'm all over the place, and it'll be Sunday morning at 11. Means Pat's going to be doing double duty. He's got a show before that.
Yes.
With PNM and the AM. And if you haven't seen it, see it. It is worth seeing.
No, don't see it. Don't see it.
Great stuff being discussed.
Stay away from Mike. Oh.
I like watching Pat keep him in line. So to me, it's amusing. It's amusing. But yeah, come back 11 o'clock next Sunday morning. After that, we get a little bit more normal or back to our Sunday night 9 o'clock slot. And we'll be ready and raring to go through the NLL playoffs, through the PLL season, through the MSL season, through the WLA season, and through the Ontario Series Lacrosse Senior B season as well. So until next week, 11 a.m., Sunday morning, I'm Gary Groob for the group. I wish you all the best this week. Have a safe week, and we'll see you next week.